Church of God, but the revival here in 71, I think, or maybe
That's what Connie
72.
was saying.
Yes,
That's what Mom was saying.
that was a part of this.
It's 90 something, wasn't it?
1970.
No, I mean it was
88.
not. I thought it was 92 or 93.
No, it was in the 70s.
Yeah,
I
1970.
mean, yeah, but here.
No, I meant that was the number of people saved. I thought.
Oh, okay.
No, I know what it
It
was.
was before I started.
Who was it preached at?
Johnny Stevens.
It's
wasn't
not
it?
Johnny
edited
Stevens.
by Robert
Johnny
Coleman. I don't know.
Right, my brain got it.
Okay, I should be able to find it by
Yes,
now.
one divine moment's all you'll need.
Okay.
It is absolutely marvelous.
And it was one of those nights you can still see Prince back there. Well, hell, I came one night.
First right there in Illinois, because I was under conviction for a long time, but I wasn't in that big revival. I wasn't saved until after that. But I regret that I was not.
Well, you
Yeah,
just
me
said,
too.
what did
I
it
think
say?
it was, it
Johnny
started
told me
in
his nights he
70.
didn't
Now,
have-
But I mean, what year
Yeah,
was
get
it
preached.
here? 71?
71,
Seventy-
probably.
seventy-
He said they was with all when he come
It
in.
started in Asbury Theological
Yeah.
Seminary, February 12th, 1970. That's where it started. Then it spread.
Shannon Man
I
Ray.
know.
Mom, I remember it.
I can
When I
remember
was
my recipes, but
70, I was 5.
I had to write down the grocery list before
I will loan this, but I have promised it to the pastor, and I'm gonna email him
I'll
when
get
I get
mine.
home and see if he wants me to just drop it off since he's got COVID. But
yeah,
that
you can put it
might
on
be
the
a good
swing.
thing that he can pick
Yeah.
up and read. But you can read it in just a matter of very short time. But it
Katrina,
is-
I got one if you want to read
Yes,
it.
and Margaret
It's
wrote
good.
it. It's wonderful.
I read it.
I cried too.
All right, we better get started.
Even
Are
if
you
one
practicing
reads
today,
like me
Katrina?
and Roy will like it.
Well, oh no, I thought you.
We don't have to.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't. We'll wait till next
I think this-
Sunday.
this is- this
I
is-
think about it now.
Okay, we won't.
I look at it every day. but it's
All right.
in there.
As I mentioned before, today, by the way, we're in Isaiah chapter 47, verses 10 through 15. But I mentioned before that I like movies. Does anybody ever watch the Rocky movies?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he made a bunch, but I loved it. One in particular
My first PG movie.
that I liked better than any was 4. Roger, you remember everything. You remember that one? Well, he had retired. He wanted just to live a calm life with his wife, but his best friend was still fighting. And he fought this big Russian named Ivan Draco, is that his name? Roger. Drago. Anyway, this Russian was huge. And they were fighting, as they do. He had defeated Rocky's best friend, but he kept beating him, and he beat him to death. And then after he was collapsed in the ring, he held his hands up. I'm the greatest. I'm a god in the ring. Nobody can defeat me.
Oh, fighting words.
But
Right there.
Rocky had retired, remember?
Mhm.
Okay, let's go on to the lesson. There's always a payback. Anyway, we're in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah, his ministry was under 4 kings: Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. Is that right, June? Jotham?
I didn't get to read this lesson.
Okay. Anyway,
That's
but most of his ministry was under Ahaz and Hezekiah. Now, Isaiah apparently was of royal descent. Because he had full access to the palace. He could go in and out. Now, Jotham succeeded, or was after Uzziah, and he was a man of God, and his rule did well. But his people, not so well.
Mhm.
Spiritually, they didn't do so good. Ahaz, which is Jotham's son, was complete opposite.
Yeah, he was.
He was a bad dude. He even
Very
sacrificed children, which to me, that's unimaginable.
And if you read it, it sounds like his own son. He sacrificed his own son. It sounds like.
No, I didn't read
Because it
that.
says that he caused his son to go through the fire.
So, you think our society is bad, but in a way, honestly, I guess they are sacrificing
We
children
do.
Oh, yeah.
by abortion.
Abortion.
But we won't get into that. But
Okay.
it's hard for us to bear. Then Hezekiah he succeeded Ahaz and his father. But now Hezekiah was a man of the Lord. And Judah did well to a point. And then, as we all know, they were exiled, but not by the Assyrians, which they are under right now. Now, like I said, Isaiah writes this, and he is writing as though Babylon had exiled Judah, but the case not. They were under the Assyrian rule right now. And he writes this in past and future tense. As a matter of fact, when he writes this happens 150 years from the time this is written. Now, Babylon does exist, but they're under the Assyrian rule. As a matter of fact, they did try to revolt, but it didn't do them much good. The Assyrians quelled the revolt and burned their city. But they were persistent.
Yeah.
They came back and they did revolt again. And this time they did win. They did annihilate the Assyrians. And to pay back the favor, they burnt their city, their capital city, which was Nineveh. And we've had Nineveh before in our lessons. But anyway, God did this for a reason. He raised that Babylon for two reasons. One, the Assyrians were a terrible empire, a terrible group of people. He wanted rid of them. And he wanted to teach Judah a lesson because Judah was into the worship of idols. So God has a reason. Nothing goes unnoticed. Nothing goes, no bad deed. There's always a payback. Just like Drago. He gets paid back. All right, let's go to 10. And I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can to breathe. Just remember that this takes place 150 years prior to. It's hard to keep that in mind because he is writing in future tense. And sometimes you get a little lost in this. For thou hast trusted. Now you can substitute for thou Babylon if you want to. For hast trusted in thy wickedness, and thou hast said, none seeth thee. Now, as we know before Babylon, Katrina mentioned one time that the Babylonians, they were wicked people. They were mean. And they trusted in their evilness. That was their way of power. That was their way of keeping their hand on you. And we know countries today that do the same thing. Russia for one, China for one, and North Korea is people. Terrible. They slide under the radar, I think here. North Korea is a wicked bunch of people. It's about at least I think China does feed them and Russia, but North Korea, man, they starve their people to death. But people are afraid to do anything. So, but this prophecy is in the future, not present. But it says at the end of this, none seeth me. After a while, when you've got away with everything, you think nobody's paying any attention. But none seeth me is talking about here and in heaven. Well, that's not the case. God sees everything. But they have gotten away with everything, future now. They think, well, there's no consequences. I am so big and so powerful. Who's going to mess with me now? What's Russia doing right now? Here they have jumped on this poor country of the Ukraine for no reason. I can do what I want. I'm not going to suffer any consequences for it. But eventually they will. My country is the strongest. The big survive. But one of these days, I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does, but I just, for some reason, this little country's hanging on.
Like at Saddam, we found him in the ground. Kind of like I don't know what kind of head it was. They'll get him.
Found him in a little old coffin in a hole, didn't they? Like a little cellar type thing. But Babylon ruled that might makes it right. I'm powerful, I'm bigger than everybody else, so it's okay. What's going to do anything about it? That's the way Babylon ruled. That's the way the Assyrians ruled. That's the way Russia's ruling right now, and China's ruling. But they'll get their payback. All right. First part of 10. The wisdom and the knowledge it hath perverted thee, and has said in thine own heart, I am, and none else can beside me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge has perverted me. Does that sound about like us today?
Mm-hmm.
Roger, where's it at? It says, grow weaker, or grow wiser and weaker. Is that, that's in the Bible somewhere, isn't it? Wiser, we,
I have to think about that one.
it's something. But we're so smart now, but we're getting weaker.
Right, because people think, well, like the Babylonians, they were very scientific. They were way ahead of their time, you would say. I mean, and they thought nothing can bring us down.
Amen.
But there's always something that can bring you
They say that too smart for their own good.
down.
But Roger mentioned wisdom, knowledge and wisdom begins with God. And that is in the Bible, in Proverbs. There's somewhere that's in there about world will grow wiser and weaker.
You're in luck. Timothy 3:1-7.
Hey.
This generation is wiser but weaker.
Good deal, Darol. See, you got
So that's shooting from the hip. But anyway, Babylon was so militarily strong and politically strong, they trusted themselves, as Katrina said, and nobody else. They didn't think they would suffer any quench. They actually believed that they were so big, so powerful, they kind of set themselves up as a godhead.
Yeah,
But if you remember, that was brought up too. Satan is powerful, and Satan wants to be like God. He does. And Adam and Eve, they were told and deceived, you will be like God. You will be as God. Wiser. Just do it. Nothing's going to happen. No consequences. And you look at the cults today. Look at Jim Jones. These cult leaders, they set themselves up as a godhead.
Yeah.
And people fall for it. How many people died under him?
Oh,
Bunch of them.
was there like 500?
And he wasn't the only one. The name was Charles Manson. They followed him like he was a god. And then the Moonies. Oh, that was a bunch of. They even gave their children to what I forgot. You used to know his name. Their little girls. They would give them to them. It's sick, but people have. That's in people. It just don't come out in a lot of people. They want to be. They want to be that powerful Godhead. And to speak not as like the Assyrians were, but they like to think themselves, I'm better than you, I'm stronger than you. Do what I say. And they convince people, if you follow me, then there's some kind of a heaven someplace you're going to go to. But they follow them instead of one true God. Last part of it. Anyway, go on, move on to 11. There shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from which it is risen. Now this evil. This could be, if you look at this could be a moral evil. But God doesn't do evil. But he allows, as he did the Assyrians, he will allow it to come upon thee. If you remember, look at Sodom and Gomorrah. They were so evil, so out of character, that God destroyed them. But God uses natural disasters to put you in line. And here they thought they were above God now, that they were a Godhead. But now God is going to bring on an evil to take care of that evil, let's say. And it was the Persians, was it not?
Yeah, it was the Persians.
But he allows it to happen. So it's not a moral, it is a moral evil, but it's not, God could just reach down and destroy it.
Right.
We know that, but as Roy said this morning, he uses other people to do things. That they're going to get theirs, and you're not going to know where it comes from. It's just like Drago. He didn't know where it was going to come from. He thought Rocky was retired. He didn't know what was going to hit him. But anyway, their punishment will come. And the Babylonians they used sorcerers. In those times that was big. They used these seances, and they would drum up all these spirits, and they relied on this stuff.
Mhm.
They wanted to know what the gods were thinking.
Yeah.
Are we in good shape? In other
They
words,
were asking the wrong
Yeah.
gods there.
the wrong ones, exactly right. Are we okay with this? Are they okay with this? Are we still good? Are we being politically correct with all of our gods? But they've got all of these, but they're still not going to see what's going to happen.
Mhm.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. You just won't know what's going to happen. The next part of 11. And mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not see. Now, this evil is now changes to, shall come into mischief. All three of these words are one and the same.
Mhm.
It's going to fall upon you, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. You won't see it coming. It's going to blindside you. And you've got all these sorcerers, you've got all these magicians, you've got all these people. They're not going, what's going to happen? They just can't imagine. But it's coming.
Mhm.
You know what?
But keep in mind now, he's prophesying as if it was present. It's
Right.
150 years from now.
You know what a man said about the Titanic? Even God can't sink it.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Even God can't sink it. John Edward Smith said even God himself couldn't sink this ship.
Since,
He
yeah,
said,
Yeah, don't put those kind of threats out
there's a
there.
little iceberg up there you're going to hit. You wait and see.
the Germans said the same thing about the Bismarck, too.
Uh-huh.
Same thing. But desolation, you can't ward it off.
Mm-mm.
Your nation's going to be destroyed. 12. Stand now with thine enhancements and with the multitude of sorcerers, wherein thou hast labored from the youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou, it may prevail. Was it Samuel? Did his mother, grandmother give him over to priesthood or to
His mother. Yeah.
It's from the multitude, from the youth? These people, the Babylons, I don't know whether they would be your children, but they would put them in, let's just say, sorcery school. They would raise them up to be sorcerers. They didn't want just one. They wanted a multitude of them.
Uh-huh.
They wanted to know where everything was coming from. They wanted to know what was happening in the whole world. And they thought, the spiritual world, I guess,
They had it covered.
they could be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
They wanted more than anybody. And if you think that's going to help you out, you've raised these people up from the youth, it's not going to help you.
Mm-mm.
But can you imagine, well, I'm going to sorcery school. So I said, they're in the medical school. So we're good. But anyway, if you think this is going to help you out, if you could profit from this, just keep on doing it. But it's not going to help you. You won't prevail.
Right.
But today,
It's
you
okay.
fall asleep now.
No, it just fell.
But today, we look at magicians as entertainment. They are, man. They got some great tricks, and it's fun. It's fun to watch them. They pull stuff behind your ears.
Mhm.
I do well to find my own stuff. I'm over.
Did you ever watch that woman change clothes?
No.
I mean, you don't see nothing, but I'm talking about
I know.
she'll change the color of her dress, the style of her dress, and everything just like that.
Yeah, quick change artist.
No, I've never seen that.
If you want to see a magic show,
I don't
there's
think so.
nothing.
I really don't like that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's fun to watch.
I don't like magician stuff. I just don't like it.
Oh, I do.
I don't. I don't like circuses either. I don't like
What's wrong
them.
with you, woman? It's entertainment now. But if you want to see a good magic show, and I'm not saying the kind where you pull stuff out of a hat, I think there's two of them. It's Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Son, that's a show, isn't it? That show it's the best. It's the best. You look it up. Now You See Me, Now You Don't. It's a great one, son. Okay.
I wondered about this, and then the last time she changes clothes, her husband drops a bunch of flaky stuff down on her. And I played it back a frame at a time and could not see any possible way they could do it. You never see her with no clothes on. So don't get me wrong.
Okay, right, we were worried about that one.
Yeah.
I'm glad we clarified that. But anyway, the last part of this verse, he is actually mocking the Babylonians. You've got all these people.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just see how what good that does, as Katrina just said. But now, magicians, the way we said, we were laughing about their entertainment. But in those days, you don't mess with that. That was a real deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
real sorcery.
that was. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. That's the spiritual world and evil spirits, I would think.
Right.
If you remember, even when Moses went to see the Pharaoh, his magicians stayed with
Yeah, they did the same things.
things.
Turn the staff to a serpent. Turn the water red.
So
Yeah.
it's not something you want to mess with. I mentioned last week, you people can go to cemeteries all you want. I think there might be some bad ones out there. I don't want to mess with them. You don't mess with the spiritual world. And they use these people to try to manipulate God. You don't manipulate God.
No.
God is, we've said, we all know He is one way, and it's my way.
He's 100 steps ahead of you.
Yes,
Yeah,
and He knows
exactly.
everything.
Always.
As my mentor said when I was a trainee, He's one way and it's my way. You do it my way. Just don't mess with these magicians. But He is making fun of them. If you think these guys can help you out, so be it. Go for it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Just go ahead and keep on using them. It's not going to do you one bit of good. 13, first part. There are wearied in the multitude of counsels. Remember I said that they sent these guys to school. Multitude is a bunch.
Yes, it is.
It is a bunch. Thousands of them. Have you ever taken bad advice? If they've got so many, you know some of them might have been good. Janet's always got these little sayings, little quirks that makes her laugh. If I listen to her, I might fall off a cliff. Roger might be the good one that's right today, you know.
Yeah.
Which one do they know to listen to? It just keep on listening to them. That's not going to do you any good. It automatically just going to wear you out. Which one do you draw up today? If you were the king, which one did you pick on today? How's my day going to be? Just keep on listening to them. It's not going to do you a bit of good. But at work, at your job, but have you ever listened to bad advice?
Oh, yeah.
I have. We had a foreman one time, can't mention his name. They thought this guy walked on water. And of course, being a young new guy on the block, he would tell you to do something. You're supposed to do what you say anyway.
Right.
But my line of work as a tradesman, you get killed.
Yeah.
And I listened to him. He told, and there was 3 of us. Sent us down to do this job. And did you ever feel like just something wasn't right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were in this hole about 30 foot down, and we were taking this big valve, electric control apart. He said, when you do this, you do that, there's no pressure on it. Oh, there wasn't. There was 10,000 pounds of pressure on it. And we kept trying to get that thing apart. We was beating up with sledgehammers. I said, guys, something ain't right. Shut it down. And they said, well, you sure? I said, shut it down. I really didn't have the authority to do that. Went back up. So then I asked another foreman. I said, something's not right here. It feels like it's still loaded. And then we got to look and got to, oh my God, if you'd done that, you'd have got killed.
Yep.
And that wasn't the only time that this walk on water foreman told me wrong. But finally, eventually, mouth, we had it out.
Yep.
And from that time on, I learned, don't listen to everybody. Do some searching. Check out.
You can't even listen to the majority sometimes.
But this guy was just bad advice. And Babylon was listening to some bad advice.
Yeah.
They shouldn't. But anyway, the next part of 13. Let us now, the astrologers and the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators, stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Now, astrologers and stargazers, in my opinion, are one and the same. They actually had a calendar. It was based on stargazers and astrologers. And their calendars went by the heavenly signs. Would that be the correct word? And they had good days and we have bad days. So I guess If their calendar said stay at home today, don't get into nothing, they didn't do anything. But their calendar was based on the stars. They watched the stars. Now, we know for a fact that did happen. When was a good sign in the heavens?
Jesus
Remember?
was born.
Right? Remember those 3 men? We have been watching
The stars.
have the
There's still
stars.
people who follow the stars.
Well, there's a big difference in astronomy and astrology.
Now,
Big difference.
now,
Yeah.
but there wasn't then.
You know, depending on your date of birth, there's certain times in your future that you have a very extreme critical day, and companies that's got something that's really technical, that really, I mean, it's got to be done perfect, have watched this and won't let that person work on their critical day.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know what I think about
Yeah,
You
that.
know about the signs.
My brother, go ahead.
My Mama Clara smoked for probably 45 years, and that's how she quit smoking, was some sign that she was supposed to stop on a.
Like the Farmer's Almanac thing?
I think
Because she read the Farmer's Almanac all along.
so. Yeah, she went by the signs that this was the time that you should quit smoking, and she laid them down, and
Oh yeah,
so I don't know.
almanac of all your life, but you
I have a friend
Planted by
who
signs.
cans by the almanac. She won't get a perm in her hair. It's on certain times because of the almanac. I mean, she's a firm believer. In it. There's something there, you know.
My brother went out in the graveyard and took dates off of tombstones, and he had a program on his computer. He said almost everybody died on their critical day.
I just did not know.
well,
You think that-
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss,
But
right?
haven't you gone out on the day where you think, I mean, I gotta be careful today.
I've had days when everything
Yeah.
went wrong. Maybe
Yeah, but I've
we had a
never.
lot of those.
That's the day I'm talking about.
I told you I
I
was a
didn't
movie.
know it beforehand.
Has anybody ever seen the movie The Gray?
The gray?
The Gray. What's it? Nielsen? Ian
Oh,
Nielsen?
Liam
Liam
Neeson.
Neeson,
Not seen that one?
right?
He's had some bad days. He's a wolf hunter. And at the end, he's ready to die because the wolf's going to eat him.
Oh, I watched that.
All right, what did he say? There's a time to be born, and there's a time
I
to
didn't know
die.
that was the name of it. But yeah, that was a good movie.
See, there's other movie watching
Yeah.
about it. But that's what he says. There's a time to be born, there's a time to die. That's just the way. That's just the way I live my life. There's nothing I can do about it. That's in the Lord's hands. Now I think you can hurry it up a little bit.
Right, you can choose your bridge. That's.
Yeah.
It's a matter of which building you're gonna jump off from, but anyway. Okay, we better get on. 14. Behold, they shall be as the stubble, the fire that shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm it, nor fire to sit by it. These wise men that they're listening to here, they're fuel for the fire, are they not?
Yeah.
They're leading Babylon right down the wrong path of destruction. They're actually fueling the fire. The more they tell them to do, the more they do wrong. It's all right, you keep on committing your evil. You keep on beating your people, starving your people, robbing your people, sacrificing children. You keep on doing all that stuff. They're just adding to God's wrath. Just keep on listening to them. And one of these days you'll understand. If you're on that road to destruction, sooner or later it's going to end.
Hog killing day.
Hog killing day. Hog's fat, it's time. You don't change your ways. I always told Aaron when you get to high school, son, these kids that everybody loves, your best friends, there's going to be a fork in the road. Some will go right, some will go left. You better make sure which path you're on. I don't get on the godly path. I would like to find the good and the bad saucers here. Okay, this last one, it could go either way, in my opinion. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from the youth. They shall wander every one of this quarter. None shall save thee. Now, if you remember, I looked this up, read this. To me, this is a difficult verse. If you remember, these kids, children, whatever, Babylon was around a long time. They raised these sorcerers. It was a profession.
Mm-hmm.
They probably made themselves rich.
Yeah.
I work for the king, or I work for the department, whoever they wanted, their governing body.
Mm-hmm.
They were rich. It was the way of life for them. They made their money. They're going to be just like you're going to be. You may try to run and hide, but you can't hide. And now Babylon was a very rich city.
Oh yes.
It was filled with richness. It was filled with merchants. It was a trade city, even. So a lot of people, well, look at us, for example, this great nation. We have a lot of merchants. We have a lot of business.
Mm-hmm.
And the more rich people seems to be around you, the more secure maybe you feel. But they're going to be in the same boat here.
Right.
They can't hide either. When God sends his wrath on Babylon, they're going to be destroyed just like everyone else. Now, whether this verse is talking about the sorcerers and the magicians that made a living and became rich from their business for their employment by the nation, I don't know. Or whether it be actual merchants, ships, money, clothing, building, whatever. None of these rich people, none of these sorcerers, they can't hide either. They're going to go down right along with Babylon.
Right. The whole thing.
The whole thing, it's a sinking ship.
Right.
As the Titanic and the Bismarck was, they're going to wish they're in the bottom of the ocean after what the Lord's bringing on them.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you very much. But none of these sorcerers, none of these magicians, they can say, man, I didn't see that coming. How many times we see that today?
Yeah.
All right, have a good day. And as I say again, anyone want to come up here? Have at it. See you, Raj.
Thank you.
Are we singing?
No. We got one more week before Father's Day. We'll just sing something.
Sing on the way home.
I'm out of breath. I don't know. Well, I do know. They can explain to you. Retarded, just you don't get enough oxygen in your blood, you just can't breathe.
No, because it doesn't go through
Talking
your
is
heart.
the hardest thing.